Greetings and welcome back to yet another episode of the Daily Run, and today we are playing as Samson on a run that goes to the Dark Room. And every run that goes to the end or to the last floor or to the next floor is usually a good indication that it's a run that is more reliant on skill and decision making than actual getting lucky and shenanigans you can pull off, because any run that doesn't go to the last floor or the next to last floor means that there is a chance of someone finding an Awa's rune or the shovel, which of course in turn means that the people who didn't find it are at a serious disadvantage. So having a run that is kind of the same for all of us, that goes to the end, means that those little micro decisions make more of an impact in the end, and I feel like those runs exemplify how Daily Rush should be. But of course that doesn't mean that there's no luck involved. There are still certain decisions to be made on the run, what you reroll, what you don't reroll, that can end up kind of messing with you. Little Loki here thankfully kills himself, so he wasn't too big of a deal. And our Devil Deal contains Satanic Bible, and Satanic Bible is not something that you generally maybe want with Samson, but since it's a good item in the sense that of course it allows us to get a lot of hearts, and also it allows us to get the Devil Deal precedence, because if you take the Devil Deal on this floor, it means that there's a chance of another one appearing. If you didn't take the Devil Deal, of course, we wouldn't have chances to get the Devil Deals, or have a chance to get an Angel Room, which means we wouldn't get the Devil Deals. So for that reason, I think taking the Satanic Bible here is a good decision, even though, like I said, maybe you don't want to do that as Samson. The main reason for that is, of course, because one of the main items you want to get as Samson, like one of his core items to kind of be successful, is the Blood Bank. And it's much easier to play the Blood Banks, the Blood Bag. The Blood Banks, you have to play the Blood Bags if you want to get the Blood Bags. And because that item does allow him to get his maximum damage multiplier. If you don't know, whenever you get hit on Samson, you get some damage up. And having the Blood Bag kind of allows you to do that passively on every single floor, to kind of deal with things a bit easier. And for that reason you want to have red hearts, because it's much easier to play those particular things with red hearts than just spirit hearts. But still, the Satanic Bible is a way for us to kind of generate a lot of health, and we can use that to our advantage. I have a theory on Isaac runs where you have a limited dodge amount of meter, so to say, and you use it up. And I think I used all of mine on this room. There were like 8 silkworms which explode. It was... I don't really know how I managed to get through this room without getting hit, especially since I'm so infamous for getting hit on easy rooms. But I felt like I had to show it off, because I did something that is pretty impressive even for me, I think. But of course, the thing that gets me here is the little spider, which goes and kind of intercepts my path in the way that gets me damage. So I did go through that giant floor, which kind of messed me up, and then the little spider got me. Here we have the chance of re-rolling Scapular, or getting the... or re-rolling the Scapular, yeah, or just picking it up. And of course, I don't think we have much use for Scapular, because we do have a way to kind of regenerate our health already with our spacebar item, so it's probably in our best interest to re-roll. And I decided to use my bomb, because I'm saving my coins to kind of use my 2 of diamonds card there. But I think that the second item that came up, the hot bombs, I shouldn't have actually taken. My thinking was that I could use the bombs to kind of fight the boss, because our damage is pretty abysmal, and of course I could use the bombs to find the secret rooms. But since the run was actually relatively weak at this point, I feel like it would be a much better choice if I first of all, of course, go and beat the boss, and then use my 2 of diamonds to get the maximum amount of money, and then I actually would start re-rolling with the money I would get from 2 of diamonds, and I think that would work out better. So here we have a pretty easy choice, since we already doubled down on just having spirit hearts or black hearts, and for some, I don't know why, I think I messed up the syringes for some reason, and I decided to take experimental treatment. That kind of screws me over, because we could have flight. The empty vessel item we got in the Devil Deal gives you health, gives you flight if you don't have any health, and because we did pick up experimental treatment, we got kind of unlucky and got 1 red health back. It's not too big of a deal, but it's kind of a waste of an item. I probably wouldn't have picked it up if I knew that that was an experimental treatment. I thought it was something else, I'm not sure, I just got it mixed up. So here, because we do have a way to regenerate health, I am taking the opportunity to kind of play the Curse Room a lot, because first of all we get spiders for hitting ourselves, so that's a bonus, and another bonus is of course that Samson gets increased damage the more hits he takes, and because if you hit yourself on the spikes of the Curse Room, you don't get any damage penalties, so it's the prime candidate for just damaging ourselves, getting a lot of damage, and hopefully being able to complete this floor much faster than usual. And this is something that maybe not a lot of people would consider, but it's definitely the right strategy in this situation. Like I said, because we do have the ability to regenerate health in a very good manner. And here we have the blood bank. The blood bank. It is the blood bank that I hoped we would get, and thankfully we did get it. And we do have some red hell that we can play, but I'm not too shy of just sacrificing my spirit and black hearts away for the sake of hoping to get the blood bag. So of course that we can have the ability to kind of damage boost ourselves on every single floor. But sadly we get the blood bag, and the blood bag is sorry, I meant IV bag, and the blood bag is the item that gives you health, and the IV bag is the item that you can use to hit yourself and then get coins. Yeah, that's what I meant. The IV bag, of course. The blood bag just gives you health, and that's, while it's useful, of course, for us, it's not something that we're maybe on the lookout for with Samson. I kind of always get those two mixed up. It doesn't help that they both have bag in the name and that they are both kind of related to blood, so I just kind of mix them up. But in this sense, I was meaning the IV bag, the item that gives you coins for the price of hurting yourself. That is an active item. The blood bag is a passive item which gives you some speed and health. Sadly, because this run didn't go as well as I hoped, and of course we didn't get the IV bag, which would help us increase our damage on the floors, we're just kind of struggling to get along here. And it doesn't help that there are a few very nasty rooms, kind of unpredictable, and the fact that they fought the Mask of Infamy. Thankfully this floor does have the Curse Room and the Devil Beggar, so I can afford to kind of abuse my position of having a lot of health to of course get increased damage, and of course also get a ton of not consumables, but a chance to get better items. And I think at this point I should have doubled down earlier on that one blood bank, and I think that if I really went hard on it, because getting the IV bag at this point would be very, very beneficial, and I think it would allow us to get to boss rush in time. Of course, if I did play the first blood bank, or one blood bank I know that I didn't play to completion, I think that would allow us to kind of abuse our status of being Samson to get really increased damage, because you can see with the increased damage our run is so much stronger. And now that we pick up the 2020 item and we have the tractor beam, our damage essentially doubles, and the fact of course that we have the damage boost from being Samson and getting hit means that we obliterated Mom in literally 3 seconds. And if we had this combo before, we would be able to do both Mom and Boss Rush in a very reasonable amount of time, and we would still be able to catch Hush. But because I didn't kind of double down on it early on, because I thought we were gonna be too late, and because there's always a chance that of course you won't even get the IV back from the blood bank, I decided to kind of go against it and not do it. Thankfully we did get a lot of damage ups at this point, so I'm not really too worried that we'll be late for Hush, because that is kind of our next main objective that we want to catch if we want this run to succeed. But yeah, definitely there, I think there would be some better plays to be made looking back at it. First of all, it's definitely that reroll machine. I shouldn't have stopped at hot bombs. I don't think hot bombs gave us much of an advantage that we actually used throughout this run, and I just think that while it's an okay item to find, I don't think it's an item that you are happy to find, because it really doesn't do much except maybe if you have some cool synergies with it, if you have that Dr. Fetus or something like that. But more importantly, I think at this point, is the fact that we didn't play that blood bank. Yeah, blood bank. I don't want to mix them up because there's so many blood items that. Yeah, the blood banks on the earlier floor, and if we did get the IV bag, then I think we would be in a much better position. But at this point, of course, because we got kind of lucky later on, we did get a lot of damage ups, which then of course allow us to kill both the Womb 2 and Womb 1 in a very reasonable amount of time, and we were able to kind of get to the boss without too much of a hassle. And another fact is, like I said before, because we have the tractor beam which keeps all our shots in the straight line, and we did get 20-20, what happens is that 20-20 shots become kind of doubled, which means that you're shooting 2 at once, and of course your damage is doubled. But the another thing we got here is Parasite Shot, and because the Parasite Shot also, it's kind of affected by 2020, our damage is essentially quadrupled at this point. So it's crazy. You'll see later on exactly how much damage do. It's not apparent against Harsh because he has that shield which kind of protects him, but you'll see on these floors just how fast some enemies who have a lot of health die. Like the cage here, you saw him melt in just a matter of seconds. He really doesn't have any chances. And I think just because of that, we did have a better chance early on if we gonna play our cards right, but we didn't. So that's what ended up happening. Definitely don't settle for mediocre items. What ends up happening sometimes, might end up happening, is that when you're playing, you know, and maybe you have a weak run, and you might find a mediocre item, which at that point seems very good, just because, of course, your run is pretty bad. And you might say, okay, this is a good item, I'll pick it up. But the point is, of course, when you have a bad run, just having a good item is not good enough. You really need a super powerful item to allow you to kind of deal with enemies in a better way. So that's why I think I should have been kind of more diligent about it and just use my 2 of diamonds and then use my coins to reroll instead of just blowing it up once and then picking up hot bombs when I got them. I think that was the biggest leak, and I'm actually wondering to see maybe if some of you played the devil or the daily. If you did decide to reroll past hot bombs, I want to know what that pedestal contains. So just to see what I missed out. Maybe it was the best decision, you know, but I highly doubt it. I think there's a better item kind of hiding behind that reroll machine. Thankfully, you know, this run has blessed us with blood banks, and because I did stick with my deck of cards, I did get quite a few of those, so I used them just as a way, of course, to get more damage for this floor, which certainly helps, and also as a way to get more coins and more consumables, which also helps us kind of rank back up, because of course we do get score for collecting these things. A good thing here is because we do have Virgo, it does give us a defense sometimes, and here's the Ivy bag I was talking about. It kind of came a bit too late, but still I'm able to use it to some effect here to kind of generate a bit of coins and hopefully increase my points just by a little bit, just by so much that I'll be put at an advantage to someone who didn't take the time to do this. And here's my crazy quadruple damage I was talking about, especially with all the damage boosts we got and items that increase our damage multiplier, and of course the fact that we have Tractor Beam and some of these crazy synergies with Double Shot and the Parasite Shot allow us to really decimate our opponents in a very, very fast. And this is it for this run. It actually wasn't a very good run in terms of score, especially for a Dark Room run. You usually expect on a good run to be around 50,000 points, but because this run was a bit weaker, I would say that you can expect somewhere around 45,000 points for a good run. But as it is, you know, this is how it happened, and of course if I did play a bit better early on, but there was some kind of tough rooms. I don't really know what I could have done better. I know that they made some silly mistakes, or not silly mistakes, some miscalculations that I think I could have done better in the run, but overall I think just playing a bit better, not getting hit as much, would have put me in a much better situation. With that said, guys, I thank you for watching, and I hope to see you next time.